On October 21st, IBJ unveils the 2025 Women of Influence. Join us to celebrate Indy's most inspiring leaders and hear the powerful stories behind their success. Don't miss this moment. Register now at ibj.com/influence 2025.
This is Inside Indiana Business Radio for the afternoon of Thursday, October 2nd, 2025. I'm Alex Brown. Indiana University Southeast is partnering with Spalding University in Louisville to create pathways for students to transition to graduate-level healthcare programs. Chancellor Debbie Ford signed a memorandum of understanding with Spalding this week to establish a preferred admissions pathway between the two schools.
These are competitive programs. They're in high demand. And there are programs that we don't offer here at IU Southeast. And so we look around and listen to our graduates about what they want to do after they finish at IU Southeast. And we said, who can we partner with? So Spalding is one of those partners.
Some of the programs include doctorates in physical therapy and occupational therapy and a master's in athletic training. Texas-based Heart Hospice has expanded with a new office in Corydon, serving people in Clark, Floyd, Harrison, Jefferson, Scott, and Washington counties. The hospice provider now covers 82 of Indiana's 92 counties. The company did not say how many new jobs are being added as a result. The Indiana Chamber of Commerce has named Jacob Perkins, the Midwest K-12 education manager at Jeffersonville-based manufacturer Amatrol, as its first ever Emerging Leader of the Year award honoree. The award is designed to recognize young leaders who have positively contributed to the Hoosier business landscape. From the number one source for Indiana business news, this is Inside Indiana Business Radio.
Thanks for listening to this IBJ Media podcast. You're probably going to remember this ad. Do you know why? Podcast advertising works. 85% of listeners recalled hearing an ad during a podcast, and 70% of podcast listeners have acted after hearing an ad. So whether you're looking to be heard across the entire IBJ Media Podcast Network, sponsor one of our shows, or just start with a 30-second ad, IBJ Media can help. Contact advertise at ibj.com to learn more.
The Financial Times reported this week that AES, the parent of utility provider AES Indiana, is in advanced discussions to sell to BlackRock subsidiary Global Infrastructure Partners in a deal potentially valued at around $38 billion. BlackRock's interest in AES represents a growing trend of private equity firms investing in or buying outright public utility companies as artificial intelligence fuels increasing electricity demands. Jerry Hayes is professor of practice in finance at the Indiana University Kelley School of Business.
Right now, everyone's looking for, cheap long-term energy to power these AI data centers. And I mean, I read all the time about how there's a big drive and push for nuclear power, and so looking for pathways to do that. And it's just kind of all over the board. And it's kind of an arms race for energy as well as it's an arms race for AI.
Virginia-based AES would become the second parent of an Indiana utility with a private equity firm holding a major ownership stake. The investment firm Blackstone Infrastructure bought nearly 20% of NIPSCO's parent company, NiSource, last year. The River Ridge Development Authority Board of Directors has approved a resolution authorizing a 2025 city services agreement with the City of Jeffersonville. Under the terms of the agreement, if approved by the Jefferson City Council, River Ridge will pay the city $1.7 million in return for continued police and fire protection and wastewater treatment services at the River Ridge Commerce Center. The city has provided municipal services to property owners in the business park since a portion of River Ridge was annexed within the city limits in 2000. An Indianapolis company is hoping its product will help paramedics performing CPR by giving them more control. The traditional one-size-fits-all bag valve mask, or BVM, has hardly changed since the 1950s. Compact Medical's Butterfly BVM device is out now to change that and recently earned clearance from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. CEO Dr. Jonathan Merrill.
But what's been always a bummer up to this point is we've always had to tell them, we're not FDA cleared yet, so you just got to wait a little longer. It's now exciting to be able to say, and we're FDA cleared. Now it's okay, now that it's cleared, all of a sudden a new door opens up that was previously shut to you. And it's all the, like you're saying, it's the marketing and actually getting the product out.
The Butterfly BVM is manufactured in Central Indiana, and final assembly is conducted at Hope Center Indy, a faith-based nonprofit for women escaping human trafficking. Purdue head football coach Matt Painter is this week's guest on the Business and Beyond podcast with Gary Dick, presented by PNC, a weekly conversation with high-profile Hoosiers in business, sports and entertainment, and beyond. Available now on the IBJ Media app or your favorite podcast provider. I'm Alex Brown for Inside Indiana Business Radio on Demand.
Off the Record with Indiana's 250 most influential business and community leaders is a podcast that peels back the curtain on Indiana's most respected leaders, one episode at a time. Go beyond the headlines and hear the stories of grit and innovation that shape these leaders. Do you want to know who's driving our state forward? This is a must listen. Subscribe and listen wherever you get your podcasts or at ibjpodcast.com.
Thanks for listening to this IBJ Media podcast. You're probably going to remember this ad. Do you know why? Podcast advertising works. 85% of listeners recalled hearing an ad during a podcast, and 70% of podcast listeners have acted after hearing an ad. So whether you're looking to be heard across the entire IBJ Media podcast network, sponsor one of our shows, or just start with a 30-second ad, IBJ Media can help. Contact advertise at ibj.com to learn more.